I want to call on the opposition, without mixing words. As I said, desperate politicians, kindly allow government to do its business and wait for the next cycle. Do your best to see if we can win the heart of Nigerians to win elections through popular process. Let me say it very clear. The issues at hand are what are trying to pull out government. I want to call on, I apologize for those who, I apologize to the word I use, opposition.
Order, please.
But I use the word
order, please.
I say,
please, let's have order. Please, let's have order. Order, please. Order, please.
I say, desperate opposition politicians, not you. I'm not referring, you are friendly. We are all doing one thing on the same government. Mr. Speaker, I hope I'm protected.
You are.
Thank you.
Since you have made that clarification that your statement is not targeted on them,
I'm not targeted
on others outside this chamber, you have made your point correctly.
I'm talking about, they are aware of themselves, they are hiding. Outside the covers of those we are talking about, I am a student of politics. I can rest anywhere and speak to myself, and I can talk to each and every person, eyeball to eyeball, of what I believe in. There are people, politicians in this country, that are vehemently ready to pull down government using whatever means. And I stand on my feet to say, I call them desperate politicians. I believe to this government, I belong to this government, I belong to this country. I cannot support anything that can pull down a legitimate government. So therefore, I commend politicians who are friendly. I shall submit.
Point of order. Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Order, please. Order, please. Order.
How can you be really?
Mr. Speaker, I'm Professor Julius Sihanvere, on one federal constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, I want to specially and most humbly commend my colleagues in this House for the show of goodwill, solidarity, unity, and steadfastness in the collective responsibility to move Nigeria forward. Today, we have demonstrated in this House, contrary to what social media and others think, we not only have a sense of purpose, but a sense of mission for the betterment of Nigeria and the conditions of our people. Mr. Speaker, a teacher of mine from Argentina, Jose Non, once said, organizing a revolution is easy. It is the next day after the revolution when you do not deliver. We have a government that listens, that is committed to delivering on its promises. And I think the debates we've had before today and since this morning show very clearly that above all interests, personal interests, this House is committed to the peace, progress, unity, and development of this country. And I want to especially thank you personally, and thank you as House leader and as a fellow Nigerian. Mr. Speaker, the journey now may look rough. I'm confident that we will reap the benefits. I'm confident that with the policies and programs that have been initiated, we will have no reasons to sorrow. And I believe that when we do go on recess, many of us, as much as possible, will also educate our people that There is light at the end of the tunnel, and there is light in the tunnel now, provided you are moving forward and you see signs of progress. So mine is to say, as head of government business on the floor, to thank all of you for the sacrifices, and to especially thank the Deputy Speaker for his contribution and his amendment to the original motion of Comrade Isiaka. I believe that it is this sense of purpose, sense of unity that we share. We try in this house to look beyond parties. When I'm outside here and they see the minority leader and I, they don't know which party we come from. They see us as Nigerians who are working together, and that's how we try to work in this house. And I think that is the sense from which we make Nigeria a better place. So, Mr. Speaker, I think we've had a good debate, and the contributions have been very rich. The amendments have been made, and I think what we need to do next is to put the questions so that we can move forward to other issues of the House.
I want to join the prayers of the...
My name is Honorable Alhassan Ado Dogwa. Mr. Speaker, I represent the good people of Dogwa Tudunwada Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, Madaki is distracting me, but I still would like to put on the record that I am an APC member.
Honorable Ali Madaki, take time. Kano is not just for NNPP alone.
I remain an APC member in an NNPP state, and proudly that. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I would like to first of all start by probably taking from the words of Mr. President, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I remember in one of his very popular speeches to the nation, he once said that he shared in the grief, he also shared in the pain and the hardship of Nigerian people, how he wished he could have done otherwise. But he promised Nigerians that definitely government will continue to do the right things to be able to assuage and to be able to address the sufferings of Nigerian people. I also would like to put on the record that I rise here to put my voice and my weight behind the mover of the motion and those who have contributed on this motion to advocate for peace. Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, it is my belief that you can only have development when you have peace. You can only have progress when you have peace. You cannot have a stable country when that country does not enjoy peace. And for so reasons, I want to align fully with the movers and the advocates of peace in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We will continue to look at the pains of Nigerian people, our constituents who brought us to the floor of this House, to ensure the right things necessarily needed for their well-being and welfare is being done by the government and those of us that are placed in authority to address their problems. Mr. Speaker, I will also want to put slightly to the attention of Nigerian people very recent policies, recent good policies of the government that are meant strictly to address some of these concerns of Nigerian people. Only recently, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, that the President declared our borders open for staple foods, grains, to come into Nigeria free for importation without custom duty. This is an idea that is meant to assuage the suffering of the people, especially in terms of food security and supply of food to our doorsteps. Mr. Speaker, I am also aware that in some of the supplementary arrangements made by the present-day government, the intention was to address some of these issues that are really ravaging the welfare and well-being of our people. And that is why we will continue to give the government that kind of support to continue to do the right thing, Mr. Speaker. While we are doing that, sir, we must also plead with Nigerian people, like the Deputy Speaker has rightly said, to exercise a little patience. I am of the opinion, Mr. Speaker, that 12 years in a journey of about 12 months, in a journey of about 48 months, it's too early for us to rush into taking these kind of actions. You should not be misled by whatever action or inaction going on in some neighboring countries. Whatever it is, the consequences of such actions, even in those countries, are not proud actions. You don't have proud results. So it's only when we can be able to bring things on the table, discuss them on the table, and be sure that we can resolve them in the overall interest of Nigerians that we can be able to make it. Mr. Speaker, I want you to continue to explore means in your relationship with the executive government, with the executive arm of government, as the leader of this House, to continue to look at those aspects where things can be made better for Nigerian people.
I just want to add my voice to this very important issue. Mr. Speaker, a hungry man is an angry man. We know this. Protests normally are ways of informing the government of what people feel, particularly negative things that are happening now. We all know that. I don't know of other states, but in my state, there are houses that for good 4 or 5 days, they cook nothing, and they sleep on nothing, and they feed on nothing. People now go out to beg. Even those that are not supposed to beg now go out to beg. People use their children to go to beg, both females and males. Insecurity is increasing by day because if there is any hunger, definitely there will be violence. That's the truth of the matter. We cannot now sleep with our eyes closed. We are always sleeping with our eyes open because children or people will jump from one house to another, collecting funds, and taking anything they get for them to go and sell, for them to feed. Mr. Speaker, we know that Mr. President has a very good program for Nigerians. We all know that. I want to appeal to those that are instigating this protest, because I believe there are people behind this protest. It's not that people are just doing it by themselves. And I think DSS must work hard to find if they can at least be able to scout and get those people that are instigating or the leaders of these protests so that they can dialogue, we can dialogue with them. Let's talk to them. There is no any meaningful achievement in any world without peaceful coexistence. And Mr. Speaker, we know that the hunger is so very much that we just have to do something about it. We cannot tell them not to come and protest when we don't tell them what we intend to do. We have to have a program. We have to tell them that really Nigeria or country is going to do something about this. Today I saw Mr. President has sent in to states 2020 trucks of rice today. Let's hope that the rice will reach the people, because normally things that go to state don't reach the common man. That's the truth of the matter. Not all the people that are targeted get what is in the market. I mean, what is brought by governors or by the states.
Talba, please, can you quickly summarize?
So thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to tell you that there is a need for dialogue with the groups, and there is a need to find out the instigators and make them see reasons. And I also want to appeal to those that are coming out for the strike to please shield their swords and let there be peace. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Doctor? May first recognize Honorable Mepalas, and then I'll take 2 more.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues. Kabiru Ahmadu Mepalas is my name. I represent the entire people of South IPP constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Zamfara State. Mr. Speaker, I first of all want to align myself with the previous speakers. And also, Mr. Speaker, I want to make a passionate appeal to Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We all believe that he has a very good plan for this country. His policies is a long-term plan for this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we need a very short-term plan. considering the emergency situation we're in. We are not praying, Mr. Speaker, if we allow this protest to take place or escalate, Mr. Speaker, we don't know where it stops. Mr. Speaker, just now, we cut our salaries. Mr. Speaker, I want to appeal to executive to do so, from Mr. President to Vice President to ministers to chief executive officers of MDS and parastatals. Let's all of us cut our salaries, put the money in government copper, provide short-term solutions to this problem, Mr. Speaker. People are hungry outside, Mr. Speaker. Even if it warrants to slash the cost of petroleum, revert back the hike of electricity, Mr. Speaker. Provide food, Mr. Speaker, for the people. If we can be able to provide these short-term plans, Mr. Speaker, I believe these young Nigerians will be ready to surrender and decline this planned protest, Mr. Speaker. This is my point, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable colleagues, sorry for supporting the position.
Ms. Ngozi Okolie. I represent Aniocha Oshimili. I'm from Delta State. My dear Speaker, my dear colleagues, there is serious hunger in the land. And I think we should all come together to try to solve this problem. This has passed time of politics. This has passed time of blaming one person. I think the leadership of this country should please look for those people who will join hands with them to see how well we can solve the problem facing this country. There are people who have been in these positions before, and they were able to manage the problems of this country. It has past time of being proud. Let us remove pride, let us remove selfishness, and invite people who truly would help to manage the economy of this country. I know our dear president is trying his best, but he's just one single human being. I know there have been people in the past who have been able to manage or try to manage the economy as good as it is. So since we have come to this stage now, I think we should remove everything that has to do with politics and join hands to manage the economy of this country. The youths that are out there trying to protest, they are sensible people. If they see that we are giving our best to manage the economy, I think they would try to come to our side. The hardship is not in one person's house. Everybody is feeling the hardship. Those who used to drink 2 bottles of water now drink 1 bottle because they cannot afford to. Even the rich also cry. So I beg Mr. President to look for all those who can join hands. There are those like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, like even Desiani, who tried to manage the petroleum crisis when we had petroleum problem before. Anybody, no matter what you think about them, should be called upon to see how best we can contribute to build the nation's economy. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Honorable Wale.
Oluwole Oke. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Osun State, representing Ijesha North. Mr. Speaker, there's no better time for us to tell ourselves the truth. And I'm very happy with the way and manner you started. I'm very impressed with your clamor for government policies and programs to be driven towards providing security, welfare of Nigerian people. Mr. Speaker, the Parliament is a symbol of democracy across the globe. Mr. Speaker, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, even though I'm not a member of APC, has started to reset Nigeria. The courage that the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi had, under the approval of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to approach the Supreme Court on autonomy of the local government is a reference point. Mr. Speaker, we need to build on this. My leaders and colleagues over time, I've been in this parliament for quite some time, and I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, that it is the federal government that has carried the burden in this country in terms of employment. In my home state, with due respect, sir, except now, what you have in my home state at the local government level are aged workforce. Our youths are roaming the streets after graduating from schools, from universities. They are roaming the streets. Some of them are now growing at now 40, 50 years old. And it is their fundamental human rights to live a worthy life as a member of human race. Mr. Speaker, it's our duty in this parliament to sharpen government policies and drive them to achieve the goals before us. Mr. Speaker, we passed the budget to ensure synergy between ourselves and the executive. We support the government of the day, but Mr. Speaker, various committees of this parliament, members of this parliament, we have a duty, we have a job to do to ensure that our budgets are faithfully executed, implemented to the letter, to ensure that Nigerians get values for our operations. It is not just enough for us to pass a budget and you allow agencies that are saddled with the responsibilities to drive programs and activities towards salvaging the underprivileged, to allow them to begin to run affairs of government the way and manner they like. Mr. Speaker, in this parliament, SMEDAN has collected data of people, of underprivileged Nigerians. I have not seen SMEDAN doing that job in my local government. Mr. Speaker, humanitarian affairs ministries with all the social welfare programs. Ordinarily, Mr. Speaker, any government that executes the social programs that we have in this country should go to bed when it comes to electioneering and winning elections, because those are programs that ordinarily should touch every person in this country. But Mr. Speaker, you find out, go and find out. I chair Public Accounts Committee of this House. Some people don't like my face because we ask questions. All the funds appropriated to humanitarian affairs were embezzled. And Nigerians are suffering. And that is why I am saying, Mr. Speaker, that this parliament must stand up and make sure that all the good policies of this government.
Please, Honorable Ali, can you restrict yourself to the subject matter?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for giving me the privilege, but the point I'm making is this, that we all need to stand up and ensure that various ministries, agents of government delivered on the agenda of the government of the day. Thank you.
My name is Honorable Obi Agocha. Mr. Speaker, I represent the great people of Ikuano, Umuahia North, and Umuahia South. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, a lot has been said today regarding the protest. The protest, like my brother, the Deputy Speaker said, is a accumulation of bad governance that have started since 1960. And most especially in the last 24 or 25 years of uninterrupted democratic government. Mr. Speaker, if the governments have been responsive to the people, to their welfare, I'm sure many Nigerians will not be exercising their constitutional right as enshrined in Section 40 of our 1999 Constitution as amended. Mr. Speaker, our nation has grown where every man must be a king in their own household. We are busy saying, wait, 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 be patient, be patient. These people are no longer patient, Mr. Speaker. We have to be honest about it. Despite the good intentions of the government of the day, people are hungry. And that hunger has led to a lot of people to high crimes and criminalities. In the Southeast is banditry, kidnapping, and assassinations. Well, Mr. Speaker, I support any plan because politics is gone, but now is for us to come together as leadership to look at the welfare of the people. Everybody's talking about the welfare of the government. What about the people? Even in this chamber, honorable members are suffering. Our staffs are suffering. So, Mr. Speaker, our youth are exercising their fundamental human rights. But in the exercise of their fundamental human rights, there should be, as well, most of them to be circumspect. You can't destroy Nigeria. We must all come together to build a more formidable Nigeria and to ask the government of the day to look into issues that have been driving so many agitations in this country. We can't just put palliative on it, Mr. Speaker. We've passed that stage in our nation. How many trucks of rice can feed 250 million people? Cutting our salary, 360 people is only 108 million. What would that do? Does it solve the problem? So we need to, in this house, as a matter of...
Honorable, please kindly summarize.
Yes, I am.
We don't have time, please.
I am. We need in this house, Mr. Speaker, under your leadership, to come together to find solutions for unity, to come together, find solutions for prosperity, and to be attentive to the agitations of our people, to be able to sort it out and to nip it in the bud, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for yielding the time.
Thank you, Honorable. Honorable Rotimi, you speak and then the leader of the House will round up.
People of Ekiti North 1, federal constituency comprising the Ikole and Oyo local governments. Mr. Speaker, I would not go over what our honorable colleagues have discussed already. I just want to point out that, Mr. Speaker, you preside over a house that has 8 political parties, the first time in the history of the Fourth Republic. And we can see that we have a multi-partisan consensus in the House today, that we empathize with Nigerians and what Nigerians are going through. We understand that they have a right to dissent and to demand answers from government. But at the same time, we are appealing to Nigerians that they give us a chance to allow all of the reforms that are going on to be able to take root. But Mr. Speaker, there is one thing that I just want to propose, an amendment to the motion, which is to have the National Orientation Agency, Mr. Speaker, to respond to the demands. There is actually a list of demands that were made, 12 demands. And many of these things, Mr. Speaker, are issues that need some enlightenment for people to be able to know about what government is doing already. Dissent is an important part of any democratic society. People respond and resort to street-level protest when they feel they are not being heard, when they feel they are not being sufficiently engaged. So, yes. So, Mr. Speaker, I would want to propose an amendment to that motion, an additional prayer, to have the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning and also the National Orientation Agency to collaborate, look at those 12 demands, and sit down and address Nigerians on what some of those things are doing. The last point I'd like to raise, Mr. Speaker, you remember, Mr. Speaker, that you raised when we had the power summit.
If you look at the subject matter,
yes, sir.
Does it have any correlation with the amendment you are bringing? That
yes, Mr. Speaker, because these protests that we're talking about, they have a list of demands. Well, at least we've seen, sir, from... The reason we are even debating this at all is because what they've brought, they might be faceless, but they've brought something to the public. There's a viral list of demands. So I think that at least we have the benefit of history to guide us on this. When we had NSAS as well, there were also lists of demands. Mr. Speaker, these are things that I think even within Parliament, through your very consultative and inclusive way of leading the People's House, these are some of the issues you've addressed. When we had the Power Summit, Mr. Speaker, you also in your policy statement, you made that statement that we would have legislative action to ensure that power increase, review of tariffs that affect the lives of Nigerians goes through a consultative process as against just being announced and taking everybody unawares. So these are some of the issues that I think that Nigerians just need to hear from government. The reason people would resort to street-level protest is because they feel they are not being heard. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. So